Hello again. One more game from the Wijk chess tournament of 2013, which Magnus won. We have already looked at his game against Pentala Hare Krishna and Hujifan, and now we're going to look at his game against Hikaru Nakamura. It's Magnus has a great score against Hikaru. It's like a lot of chess. Sometimes it's a little bit about psychology. Maybe Hikaru's gotten defeated by Magnus so many times already that he's just. I'm sure he does his best to not think about it and not, but it could be like subconscious that he knows that Magnus is just a machine and he will lose in the end, and that might make him play worse. So here it's interesting. Hikaru is going for the Kalashnikov variation, and Magnus does an interesting move here, g3. There has been Kalashnikov. Before it has gotten what is it called? A bit of a revival, because I think this Indian Grandmaster Gukesh, and they are starting to play this. And before, when you played the Kalashnikov, it was often the idea that you sometimes want to do f5 and trade that pawn, and that's the reason why you don't include a knight f6 and knight c3 like you do in the Sveshnikov variation. But this is the Kalashnikov variation. But nowadays, I think now Magnus doing g3, but I think like if you do c4, then what they do is they go like this, and then they go here, I think. And I've seen this kind of a setup. I don't really understand the point of it, to be fair, but I've seen this kind of a setup. I don't really understand. It's probably that sometimes they want to do c5, b5, but it doesn't work now. But maybe if they play g3 like Magnus here now, Hikaru could have done this modern setup here. Yeah, I'm not so sure about those plans, but I've noticed the Kalashnikov has gotten a revival. And this is also interesting, h5, like this kind of play was common in the Kalashnikov before, something like this, maybe, and then here, and castle. But Hikaru plays an interesting thing here. He plays h5, and he's playing a little bit like the new Kalashnikov way here. Magnus is playing like that. But now if you do that, why don't you go here also? Okay, you can't do it because of knight b5, so he has to do this. And now, like in this position, it's just quite normal to do this. But yeah, maybe like this would be nice also. Sometimes b5 can be a little bit of a weakening. Yeah, this also looks a little bit, because this is a little bit of an annoying pawn, because black has this and can trade the bishop. So that h5 is a little bit interesting, but it doesn't look like Magnus, and that Hikaru used it really correctly, but it's still probably theory here, of course. And again, h4 would be interesting here, but he does like that, and he does this instead. So now we see maybe the point of h5 was always to play bishop g4 and provoke f3, and f3 was apparently a mistake. It was better just to move here. And now he does the h4. Can he For some reason he gives up the bishop freely. I guess it's before he can recapture with the knight, but still, like, giving up the bishop like that looks a little bit... It looks a little bit wrong. Okay, and Magnus decides to go for f4. Obviously the idea is that when black plays h3, you can go here instead. Okay, so the computer thinks it's time to take trade. Okay, yeah, it looks... There is quite a lot of weaknesses here in White's position, so there are some chances for counterplay, but yeah, there is also this, maybe a b4 and then knight c6, like annoying stuff. Black will probably go put the king here on g8, would be my guess, because just looks to wait to the castle queenside with b4 and this one and a4 coming, so black should do king f8 and king g8 here. Okay, so let's see what happened instead. Hikaru did that, and the computer doesn't like it because it would have been better to trade the rooks, which he didn't do. Now h3. He should have checked with the queen apparently. Yeah, why didn't he do that? That looks good to make so white cannot castle. This one is threatened. Yeah, this looks a little bit more in the spirit of the position, to try to get a check here, maybe get some counterplay. Because if you used to play passive here, sometimes this pawn might be getting lost, and this, I don't know, I'm not so sure about this knight here, but let's see what happened. Yes, the computer likes this, and then this. Okay, this, sometimes this knight is a little bit in this. There is some risk that this knight and this pawn might be in a little bit of a trouble here. So let's see what happened. f5 is logical, but the computer likes this. Okay, with a plan of going here. Of course, it's a strong bishop and a strong pawn, and this attack doesn't look so dangerous right now. But f5 also looks good. Okay, so you should have taken with the bishop here, but I don't know, I don't like that black can trade off his bad knight here, but maybe. Okay, so this is a blunder. He is obviously afraid of the knight. For the knights, he wants to go here and sack a pawn to get rid of it. Instead, he should have done this. Of course. Yeah, the threat here is sometimes why he can play f6, take with the bishop, and then yeah, it just doesn't work for him right now. So maybe this was best. Yeah, and then he can do this maneuver when this pawn is blocked. Because I see like the point here is that you can't really take because he will win here. And yeah, there is just no, you can't just, black is losing a piece basically. I can't see anything for black to, like this doesn't help. because yeah, you can still not move the bishop because of this mate. What about this? Yeah, black's pieces are all very offside, and white's pieces are excellent. So he can't take there, and then he has to go back. That, yeah, definitely a blunder. Like computer says, this position is better than what happens in the game. So now, because he has to go back here, then of course white is winning here. Yeah, and this is also, I guess, the reason why modern Kalashnikov players, they don't play this b5. We can see it now that this square is getting quite weak, as we can see now when he goes back, and that knight has a very strong position here. Okay, black did rook g8. Computer thinks bishop knight b6 was better, but I don't know. It looks, this just looks lost for black to me. All the pieces are, especially this bishop is, and this knight. Every piece is like a wrong thing. There is also another saying, like I played some bug house, and like this knight here, so close to the king. Like the king is very safe here because, you know, this knight, it attacks squares outside of the board, so you don't want to have the knight and king touches. That's good for the king because, yeah, this knight is more in the way. Even it's actually in the way of a black piece that could come here and attack the king. So, but of course, yeah, he can do knight f4 soon. But okay. So he's threatening this, of course, so we have to defend that. And now black wants to take here, so he does like that. It's being pinned, of course, but why can't he take here? And that's what he is trying, and maybe taking here. I see, because he can take back here, and this is actually mate here. And now again here we see that it's so bad to have one here. It protects the white king, because otherwise this would have been with check, but it's not now, so it's a mate here. So what about this move then? The correct is take. Yeah, maybe something like this, and the rook here will be winning next move. And here, yeah, you win the queen here. Check, has to sack the queen and win. Yeah, very nice attacking game by Magnus. Obviously, biggest mistake was this one, that he needed to go with the bishop here, because actually if he does that, black's king is quite safe on e7, because this wall here makes black's king quite safe actually. So that would have been interesting to follow the game. And also this that he took here like unprovoked, it was also a little bit hard to understand. But yeah, okay, see you next game.